All right. I've given a few minutes for that. Thank you. Someone enabled closed captioning. Thank you. And this is being recorded. So the recording will be made available on 1850 after I have received notice that it is available for me to download, and I've edited it down a little bit to make up for the pauses and different things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you need to leave for whatever reason, you can shoot me a direct message in the chat, and then I'll take a look at it and make sure that I mark you down as needing to leave. If that's really only if it's for classes and different things like that. We will have a few people be joining late as their classes let out at 4:50. I expect more people to be joining in. But for now, I haven't been able to get into 1850 in order to download the new QR code for people to check in. So in the chat, if you could if you want to email me what organization you are here to represent, we'll use that as the way to make sure that I know that you are here and different things like that. If you don't know my email, it is mmiller13@udayton.edu. And I'll mention that again at the end of the meeting today, so that way you can, if you're not here when I have started this, you can email me then as well. So mmiller13@udayton.edu. Email me what organization you are here to represent for the president's meeting, and we should be good to go. With that, and if I don't directly respond to you, I do see direct messages pop up on my screen. So if I don't directly respond to you, that should be fine. But let's go ahead and get started. So thank you again for coming to the spring officers meeting. This is the virtual version of the meeting that I had last Wednesday for people in person in the ballroom. This is one of two meetings that are required for each organization this semester. The other one being the treasurer's meeting, which will be held virtually tomorrow at 4:30. So make sure that if you have a treasurer, or if you're wanting to spend, or if you're wanting to use P cards, get funding from SGA and different things like that, make sure you have your treasurer attend either the meeting that is tomorrow, or make sure that they have attended the meeting that happened last Tuesday in the ballroom. But let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone back to school, right? This semester, I know we're about a week back into classes and whatnot. So I hope everything's going well for everyone. Biggest thing that is different for organizations this spring is we are not doing spring up the orgs. If you have not heard already or did not guess, since there were no questions about it in the organization checkpoint in the fall. The reason we are not doing it is because the feedback from last year, specifically in talking about how it didn't feel useful for orgs, or some orgs felt like it was a lot of orgs felt like it was a waste of time. But I also know we did not get as much traffic into the spring up the orgs as we would have liked, and it ended up not being as helpful. So with that, we are going to be trying to introduce some more intentional programming to help out your organizations from our office. And one of the biggest things that we're going to be doing is instituting a sort of like open office hours for me and our graduate assistant, Aaron Steiner. We'll set up some open office hours for organizations to come in and talk to us with any sort of specific questions, whether that's in general things about 1850, in general things about how best practices for running the organization, or even specific questions about a very specific event that you're looking to get help with. So we'll get those open office hours posted, hopefully starting for next week. on 1850 in the same box where there should have been information about the president and treasurer's meeting on the front page. So again, I'll get that information out to you guys as soon as I can, but for now, that's what we have going. Any other things? There shouldn't be many other changes happening for this upcoming spring. For newer organizations that are just starting. So if you have friends who are wanting to start an organization, we are slowly rolling out this process for newer organizations. There's a little bit more intentional workshops that they need to attend and whatnot. And eventually some of those workshops are going to be offered to everyone for organization leaders in order to provide a little bit more professional development, as well as just organization help for all of you guys. So right now it's just for newer organizations as like a pilot, and then as it starts to roll out a bit better, that will be made more available and more regularly to all of the organizations. So be on the lookout for that. But let's go ahead and get to the next part. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Morgan Miller. I am the Assistant Director for Student Life, overseeing all of the student organizations here on campus. My supervisor is Gwen Fox Stump. Our business manager who works with all of our organizations in terms of money is Amy Freeman. And then our graduate assistant is Aaron Steiner. If you're a sports club and work with Campus Rec, then you should be familiar with our counterpart over there, Maham Khan. So what does our office provide? A student organization resource guide. That is all of the guidelines. It explains the policies, a lot of processes for organizations and the things that you guys have to do, things that you have to follow, and helpful resources that you guys have access to. Aaron and myself also approve almost all of the events on campus. So when you have created an event registration, we're the ones who go through and make sure that everything is getting followed. You're filling out all the correct questions and approving those events. Spending or receiving money, Amy Freeman and Gwen help out with that most of the time. For the most part, a lot of that is through 1850, and it involves having an account with the campus and whatnot. Deposits, again, anyone from our office can do that. We can take the checks and stuff in our office, and then we'll deposit them, or you guys can deposit them in different places at St. Mary's. Flyer approval, Aaron and I are the ones who do that, but we're also expected to. No, please make sure you're muted. We're also available for you guys to come in and answer questions. All right. University of Dayton, you can't really go anywhere without hearing a little bit about community, right? So commitment to community, the reason we are here having this meeting is to make sure that you guys are aware that, we're all a part of one Dayton community coming together, trying to improve our holistic experience here. The University of Dayton has this mission calling us to develop our character and integrity as leaders, committed to building community in our world, committing ourselves to learn in and through community, committing ourselves to respect the dignity of every person in thought, word, and action, and committing ourselves to practice solidarity in order to promote the common good. We want you guys to be able to grow in terms of socially, academically, in a holistic way, and part of that is through you guys hosting all of these organizations as leaders, us hosting a space for you guys as leaders to run in a safe manner on campus and different things like that. In addition to that, or going further down this idea of running our organizations in a safe way, we do need to talk about hazing prevention. If you were with us last semester as an officer in that same meeting, we talked a little bit about hazing prevention then, but really I do want to hammer home this idea that people who are joining your organizations need to be treated in a welcoming fashion, and not made to do things that they should not be forced to do. If you see something, say something. Everyone should have completed the hazing prevention training. If someone in your organization has not completed the hazing prevention training, they cannot participate in any event that your organization is doing, whether that's an educational thing or a social thing or anything like that. You as organization leaders can check who has completed the Hazing Prevention 101. If you go to 1850, you click on manage on your groups page, you can go to the members list, and as officers in those organizations, you can see the tags that are under people's names. So as you can see right here, it says Hazing Prevention 101 under each person's name. If they have that tag, they are fine. They are good to go. If they do not have that tag, they need to be directed to our office immediately, so that way we can try and get them through the hazing prevention training as quickly as possible. This is to keep them safe. It is to keep your organization safe. And it's to keep the whole entirety of the community safe. So it's very important. Does anyone have any questions about hazing? All right. Okay, the Student Organization Resource Guide. This is a quicker first stop for questions. If we're not here, or if you just want to look up to see if something is in the resource guide, so that way you don't need to reach out, this is a good spot. The SORG contains guidelines, policies, procedures, everything from planning, hosting, and evaluating events all the way through food and alcohol policies and other general policies. Timelines for organization recognition are also spelled out within the SORG. Really, the next one to be on the lookout for is your spring semester checkpoint and annual re-recognition. Those are done in the same survey that will be sent out on May 1st. It will close on May 31st. I'm not going to be able to push it back any further, unlike last year. So please make sure that your organization officers are updated on 1850.
There was.
Hey, please make sure you're muted.
Oh my gosh, I know, I didn't know that either. And
please make sure that your officers are updated on 1850, so that way the correct people are filling out the re-recognition process. We have information about educational leadership workshops that are available either through the Center for Student Leadership or through student leadership programs and other campus partners. So just be aware that these different things are available there. So accountability and standards of behavior. Following our guidelines are a part of the Student Code of Conduct. So people who are organizations or individuals within organizations who are not following these guidelines may be referred to Community Standards and Civility for Code of Conduct violations, and we'll go through that process. So please be aware that everyone involved in your organization needs to be following the rules and stuff, and make sure that you outline what are things they can and cannot do at different events. If you have more questions about that, I'm more than happy to talk about that at a later point in time. But for now, let's go ahead and move on. So organization expectations. Keep your organization up to date. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Read and review the Student Organization Resource Guide. There is important information in there. Have a president and treasurer or other officer attend the officer meetings in the fall and spring semesters. Great job. You guys are doing all of that. Register all of your organization events and activities. If your organization is doing something, we need to know. Whether it's a business meeting, whether it's some event that you are just attending as a group, please make sure that you are registering those events. Not only is it in an effort to keep you guys safe, but it's also to make sure that we have the information to report out at the end of the year to our various campus partners, so that way we can show people what our organizations are doing and different things like that. Make sure you guys are completing the checkpoints and re-recognition. Meet regularly with your advisors and communicate ideas and plans for your org. That's as much as your advisor wants to be involved, which I hope they are wanting to be involved in your organizations. Make sure they know what's happening. Make sure you at least give them the ideas that, oh, hey, I'm doing this, our org is doing this, maybe you stop by and different things like that. Read and keep record of emails sent to you by CSI staff, whether that's emails about specific events or regarding policies. Please make sure that you have an idea of where those please make sure that you're up to date on those. This also includes messages on 1850, which is how we mostly talk about any changes that we need to see on events and different things like that. If it's really important and if you think it's going to have a lasting effect on your organization for the future, you can save the email and upload it to 1850, where the documents can be saved for future iterations of your organizations. Update organization officer positions each semester after changes in officers, including faculty and staff advisors. If you do not tell us that your faculty and staff advisor has changed, we will never know. So please let us know, so that way we know who we need to contact in case we can't get a hold of any of the students for whatever reason. And please visit us when you need assistance with anything. There it goes. So everyone should have the Campus Groups app downloaded. The best way to manage your organization, though, is through the desktop app. The Campus Groups app is good for checking into events or checking out of events as well. But mostly it should be through the desktop app that you are registering events or managing your membership and officers and different things like that. So the app, search Campus Groups, search University of Dayton. You'll be able to download 1850 from there. And then for scanning QR codes, you would use the Campus Groups QR code scanner for different events and for different events on campus. Right now, it does need to be the Campus Groups QR code scanner. I've not been told otherwise by Campus Groups yet. There was some sort of issue with recent updates to Apple and Google in terms of QR code scanning. And so right now, only the Campus Group QR code scanner is apparently working for Campus Groups generated QR codes, which is annoying, but it is kind of the system we have to work in right now. 1850 communication. Make sure you're checking your emails. Make sure you're checking your 1850 messages on the website. We communicate with you regularly through that, whether it's through the officer portal or weekly student leader emails, as well as anything about your events that you are looking to get registered. This is how we communicate with you. The weekly student email kind of looks like it does on the left there. That should be coming out later today, but also your 1850 messages look like this image on the right. Make sure it's in a little box on the top of your front page of 1850, but also any event will have its own little message system created for it. So that way we can communicate with you quickly about something that needs changed with your event. The most common thing is we're asking students to make sure that they have an email or something on their flyer, or they are writing in what location, where the event is even happening, and different things like that. If you don't want to receive it, make sure you have some sort of notification turned on, whether it's just a push notification or even an email regarding messages that you're receiving. Please make sure that you can go to notification settings. You can turn them on. If your advisor isn't wanting to get pinged on every little thing happening with your organization, they can go to the notification settings and turn it off themselves. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to be reached by us for your organization stuff through these messages. So try to keep your notifications on for these. The group's officer page. Keeping your officer page updated is how we communicate with you guys in the best most up-to-date way possible. If the incorrect officers are listed as on your officer page, we will be emailing the wrong people. It is important for your organization to run that your officer page is as up-to-date as possible. Any officer of your organization can update the page. It does not need to be the president. It does not need to be the advisor. Any officer of your organization. And please, we ask that you make any changes within the day of elections or whatever possible reason that someone may be leaving a position. But the absolute last day each semester that we need you guys to update officers is May 1st. So please, please, please make sure you are up to date on that. It also helps to specify what role the student is taking on in the organization. It does help us. That way we know who to contact. But also there are emails that go out to just treasurers. So if they're not labeled a treasurer, then they're not going to be receiving that email. And again, if anyone needs to leave for class or whatever, yes, just send me a direct message. And if I don't get back to you, there's I'm presenting, so it's sometimes I'll miss it, but just send me a message. This is being recorded again, so that way if you do need the rest of the recording, send me an email and I'll send it to you. There it goes. Organization financial information. This is going to be a very quick overview of things. Your treasurer, if you have one, should have received more information already or will tomorrow. Spring 2023 funding opportunities. We as an office, CSI does not provide funding for your organizations, but SGA does. So SGA Spring Funding Week started on January 9th, and applications for that funding week will end January 22nd. So please make sure that if you are requesting funds for your organization, that you have that application in. Try to think of things that your organization could need funding for and budget for it and submit that. If you do not submit an application for funding during the SGA Spring Funding Week, you will not be able to request funding from SGA for the rest of the semester. So please make sure that you do that. If you do, you can also later on make special request funding up to different amounts that SGA could provide for you. So just be aware of that. Individual student engagement grants are for exactly what they say, individual students. This is more geared towards students who may not be able to pay the dues for certain organizations. So if you are running across a student who wants to be involved in your org but can't quite pay to be a part of it, if your organization has dues, have them apply by January 29th, and they can receive up to $250 this year for to be a part of your organization. So, and again, that is per like academic year. So I do believe that in the fall, they could probably reapply if they needed to. But if you have more questions about that, SGA Finance at udayton.edu will be able to answer those questions. So in order to really the first spot that you can go for any sort of financial questions should be this student organization financial tool. It is found on the front page of 1850 in the bottom right corner of our first little set of boxes here. If you go through that, it will ask you a series of questions, and it's sort of like you click which question you need to answer. You click on the answer for each question, so then it will lead you down the path of finding out what you need to do in order to either pay, make the request, or reimburse, or whatever that you are trying to do with your organization's finances. Again, if you do really have questions about it and it seems confusing, you can always come in and we're more than happy to work with you. But this process has been tried to be made as simple to follow as possible. The treasurer's training, we held 2, or will hold the second one. The first one was last Tuesday, so please make sure that last week's was last Tuesday. This week's is tomorrow from 4:30 to 5:30. It's going to be a virtual meeting. If your treasurer has not did not attend last week's, they need to attend tomorrow's. If they cannot attend tomorrow's, they need to email Amy Freeman at afreeman1@udayton.edu as soon as possible and let her know that that they were not able to go. That meeting will also be recorded. So please make sure that your treasurer knows that they need to attend, or let Amy know that they will not be able to attend. All right, event registration. Every event, from the smallest event to the large, to your organization's larger events, need to be registered on 1850. It is a requirement of your organization. If you do not register any events, we will begin to assume that your organization is no longer active. And just, I believe it was last week, organizations that did not submit any events last fall were emailed in regards to questions about their active organization status. What is considered an event? Anything where you are representing your organization. Anything, whether it's you hosting an event off campus, attending an event as an organization, you guys need to, it needs to be registered. If you have the doubt on whether or not you need to register the event, just go ahead and register it. Makes it that way you have your bases covered. If you really are not sure, you can email me and I will try to answer you as soon as I can. But really, I'm most likely going to say to please register the event. Now, there are some things like follow up the orgs. You guys do not need to register that you are attending Fall Up the Orgs as an event through the 1850 event registration. That is an event put on by our office for your organizations. You guys don't need to do that. But other events on campus, if your organization is attending, let's say there's a picnic outside for a specific campus department, your organization is attending it because they want to they want to show support for it, that is something that you would register. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense. Orgs that do not register events will put their recognition status in jeopardy. So you have to have the 1850 approval for events. If you don't have the approval, you will not be able to hold that event. So please make sure that you have that green check mark. When you create an event, it creates a workflow for everyone who needs to be involved in any step from our end of that process to take a look at the event, ask questions, and give our individual approval. And finally, when that final approval is given, your event should be marked as approved on 1850. Make sure you also let your advisor know, so that way, if there are questions that we need to ask them, they kind of have an idea, a little bit of what is going on. Approvals may take some time. We have over 200 organizations. I have 112 workflows to approve, I think, as of today, and so sometimes it takes me a while to get through them. Please give us the grace to work on them. If you get your events in early, it is more likely that we will have your event approved by the time the event is coming around. If for whatever reason we do not get to your event on the day that it is supposed to happen, send me an email just so I know, and I will see what I can do. Okay. Or even if it gets to like about maybe even 2 days before your event, send me an email. It will make sure that I go and look at it for sure and get it done. But our graduate assistant, Aaron, goes through them. I go through them. And then anytime anyone in our staff gets an email about it, they take a look and we try to push them along. So if you really, really, really need to get something approved right now, send me an email. I'll take a look and try to get it approved. That being said, typically we work from 8:30 to 4:30 every weekday, and we do not work weekends typically. If you send an event, if you try to register an event on a Friday for an event that happens that Sunday, it is not going to get approved. You need to send them in earlier. So how to book, and a new thing that we are really pushing this year is events need to have a location before you register the event. So please reserve space on campus. Here's a whole bunch of ways that you can reserve different spaces on campus. KU, anything in KU, VWK, Adele, and most of the outdoor spaces immediately outside of KU are controlled by our office, the Center for Student Involvement. You can visit us at the front desk or call. That is the quickest way to reserve spaces that we have control over. There is a form online, but it may take a few days for that to get confirmed. The Recplex, you can work with Ben Heller, or you can visit their campus recreation website through that link there. That will take you through a process in order to get spaces reserved for your organization. If you want to reserve space at Art Street, you need to email artstreetreservations@udayton.edu. And for any academic building classrooms, the way to do that will be through 25 Live, which you should have access to through the University of Dayton's website. Any questions on how to book space on campus? Okay. Do not wait until the last minute to register events. Plan ahead. Events with so if you are just having a regular meeting for your organization, maybe that will be fine to do maybe 2 or 3 days in advance. But for other things that are going to be more involved, anything that is going to have food, anything that if it is a large space, if it is a space, if it is an event that has risk management portions to it, we're going to need more time. Events with external speakers, so that is anyone from outside the university coming to your organization to speak about anything, whether it is a class for your organization, whether it is someone, a professional from the field that you're looking to go into, that your organization is looking to go into. If they are coming to speak to your organization, it needs to be registered as an external speaker, and they will need more time to be approved. There is a process for speakers to get approved through the university. So please make sure that those are registered beforehand. If you try to register an event with a speaker that is coming tomorrow to come talk to your organization, that is most likely not going to get approved. And if you go along with the event, it could put your recognition status in jeopardy. Students cannot advertise the event, sign up, RSVP, or sign any of the release agreements unless your event is approved. Organizations should not be signing things to begin with. Please check with our office if you are ever asked to sign anything to make sure that it is not a contract. Students cannot sign contracts per university guidelines. But in order to advertise, sign up, or RSVP, the event needs to be approved. Any sort of travel that your organization will be doing, we need to have a travel roster for everyone who is going, meaning RSVP is the best way to do that. If you register the event and don't have the travel roster right then and there, that is okay. I will need it at some point. Just email it to me. But we need to get your event approved so you can RSVP, so we have a good idea of who is going on the event, who is going on the trip for the event. Student organizations are responsible for practicing safe and healthy decision-making behaviors at their events. Be aware of your surroundings, and we'll get into risk management here in a few minutes. Any questions about event registration? Okay. Flyers, posting, and signage guidelines. Any information that is going on a flyer needs to be approved by the Center for Student Involvement. So even from pictures to wording and different things like that. There is a process to do so built into the event registration form. And there is also a separate flyer approval form if for whatever reason you don't have the flyer available right then and there at the event registration. We try to check that as much as we can and try to stay on top of it as much as we can. And if we have questions or need things changed, we will ask that through the 1850 system. Chalking on sidewalks, brick paths, or any other surface is not permitted. You cannot chalk on the sidewalks. Grounds will yell at me and my office in general. They do not like it when people mess with the sidewalks. Information on flyers may be posted in approved spaces only. There is a list of bulletin boards in our posting policy that you can find within the Student Organization Resource Guide of what bulletin boards the Center for Student Involvement owns across all of the buildings on campus. Those are the bulletin boards that you can put flyers on as long as they have the stamp from the Center for Student Involvement. Student organizations are not permitted to post on doorways, windows, elevators, walls of campus buildings, nor are they permitted to put flyers on cars in campus parking lots or in the student neighborhood. Approved flyers may be delivered to university-owned houses, but they may not be placed in house mailboxes. Another thing that you cannot put flyers on are any of the light posts. Do not put flyers on the light posts outside. The tape that is being used takes the paint off of the light posts. And again, maintenance will yell at us. Posting and distribution of information that is not consistent with institutional values or that is in violation of the code of conduct, profanity, degrading of individuals or groups, or any sort of terminology, graphics, or reference to alcohol, those are not permitted. What you need on every single flyer that is being physically posted or on the CSI's virtual bulletin board will need a date, time, location, a sponsor or group of the event or activity, a contact phone number, email, or a link to social media account must be included. That's almost always the reason as to why flyers aren't getting approved yet, is because there is not an email, a contact phone number, or a link to social media. So please make sure those are on there. If your organization is posting something to their social media to talk about a certain event, we would still like you guys to please put it through the flyer approval process. Just tell us that it is being posted to social media. We will not ask for a contact phone number or email address or social media link if that is the case, because people can approach your organization for questions about the event through the social media app anyway. So don't worry about that. Any questions about flyers? Okay, I only asked to make because I want to make sure that this is that the information is getting across. All right, social media. Student organizations are expected to monitor the use of organizational social media accounts and maintain the content that aligns with the values of the organization and the University of Dayton. Organizations using social media in ways inconsistent with university policy may face disciplinary sanctions or jeopardize recognized organizational privileges or standing with the university. It is important to remember that your organization's social media accounts are not official university social media accounts. That needs to be made very clear on your organization's social media page. There is a blurb that available for wording of this in the Student Organization Resource Guide, but it is very important that somewhere on your social media page for your organization that you are marked down as not an official university social media account. Travel. Essential, you guys, or as organizations, you can go to events off campus. You can host events off campus. But any travel needs to be registered, and that's even just going to Brown Street as an organization that needs to be registered on 1850. I don't need to know that like 3 members of your organization are going to Brown Street as friends to grab dinner. I don't need to know that. It's your organization. If your organization is hosting an event or going to an event at a location anywhere, it needs to be registered. Event begins at the designated time to leave campus and ends when you are back on campus. Any overnight trip, it needs to be made very clear that there is to be no alcohol on any overnight trip, and all students must RSVP to an event in order to travel to the event. Transportation, all drivers will need to have a valid driver's license, insurance, and be certified through the university, even if driving personal vehicles. The process to do so is easy. It is through the University of Dayton's website. And as soon as you take the test for the certification online, it puts you into the database. And when we ask for your student ID numbers of the drivers, it checks and makes sure that everything is good there. If you have questions about renting any transportation vehicles, please contact Sandra Harris. Their number is there. Any questions about travel policies? Okay. Risk management. So we have around about 12,000 students here on campus. I don't know why my camera. We have about 12,000 students on campus. We have almost over 4,000 events every year, and we have over 200 organizations on campus, but we're all one UD community. We want to make sure that everyone is safe, and we want to make sure that everyone feels prepared to tackle situations as they might arise. One way that our office tries to help with that is by including questions about risk management in events that have some sort of inherent risk in them. So it is important that when you guys are trying to answer those risk management questions, that you take them seriously and get into the headspace of thinking about how you would tackle different situations as they arise. So there are 5 types of risk that we highlight: physical, emotional, reputational, facilities, and financial. So physical risks, are self-explanatory. Anything that involves a lot of physical movement or possible physical injury. Emotional risk is a little bit harder to see, but think about it like an emotional risk could be someone, if your group is attending a conference and there's going to be a lot of people, is your group prepared to offer some sort of space for someone who needs to separate themselves from a large group of people for whatever reason, whether that be for personal or for health reasons that they can step away. Reputational. The reputation of your organization, the representation of the University of Dayton, the reputation of whatever place you are at, those are all things to take into consider. Would someone be okay with looking at what you are doing and say, yes, that is a good organization there? Those are things to take into account. Facilities, that is the space you are in. So I mentioned the chalking of sidewalk earlier. The risk associated with that is either possibly using the wrong materials on the sidewalks that then can't be washed away, or if you're inside the building in KU and you're painting shirts, what happens if paint gets on the carpet, paint gets on a table? So how do you mitigate that risk? Things to think about. And then financial, this mostly comes about in like the financial risk your organization is taking. So if your organization is doing an event that costs a lot of money, how is your organization going to make sure that that money is used effectively or in a safe manner? Or if you are traveling somewhere, financial risk could be if it is a personal vehicle, even getting a flat tire could be a financial risk due to the student needing to replace that. Does your organization cover that since they are driving for this event? Or how is that going to work? So those are just some things to think about. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of a shorter, small activity where we're going to talk about some plans for you guys as organizations. Not everyone needs to participate, but I will be asking for people to, when questions are asked, to unmute and possibly give a little bit of a bit about what you guys are thinking. There's going to be some time for you guys to sit and reflect before we really dive into answering questions. But any questions about anything that I've covered so far before we get into this? Okay. So what we're going to do is a vision board. So basically, what is the mission and vision for your organizations? What do you want your executive boards to be doing? What do you want the whole organization to be doing? What are your short-term goals, whether that's for you as a leader within your organization or for the organization in general? What are your long-term goals? Are there any other ideas or visions that you have for the semester? And then some notes. Take some time. I know I don't have the template available for everyone to use right now, but it is here. Take some time, think about some of these questions, and then we're going to come back together and try to answer and try to go through some of this. I'm going to say take maybe take until about 5:30 to really get some thoughts in about this, and then we'll come back together and do that. So stay in the thing. I'm gonna mute my audio and my video, but you can chat me if you have any questions. Okay, if you're not finished, I do still suggest that you take up some time later to either finish this up yourself, or even to work with your own executive boards on the vision for your organization moving forward. But I do suggest that if you have done this, if you have written it down, to please make sure that you save it and maybe even upload it to your group's 1850 page in the document section. So that way you can refer back to it throughout the semester if you need to, or if we have any questions about anything and we mention this and any of our helps with you, that you can refer back to it. But real quick, I'm just looking for some volunteers. to maybe share out what are some things that your organization is aiming to do this upcoming semester. And so if you want to, there should be a raise hand button on Zoom to be able to volunteer, and then you can unmute after I call on you. Just tell us what your organization is and maybe some information from this vision board. I am okay with waiting here for someone to volunteer to go first. Hi, Molly. Thank you.
So this semester we added a new position to our organization, and so we're trying to work on delegating officer roles to make the work a bit more even between all of the officers.
Nice. What kind of position did you add?
We previously just had co-captains for the women's ultimate frisbee team, but we added the position of president. So trying to figure out how the leadership is going to switch from before.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's great. Anybody else? It doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be super involved. Just looking for Kathleen.
One semester goal our organization has is just spreading awareness of our organization. So we are planning on having a brainstorm session to talk about ideas for events for this upcoming semester.
Awesome. And what organization is this?
Revolve. So
Revolve.
we put solar panels on nonprofits.
Awesome. Can I get one more to share out? Shelby.
Yeah, I'm president of dance team, and one of our long-term goals for this semester and next semester, is to gain more like performance opportunities for men's basketball.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And actually, if you want to email me, I'll put you in touch with the person who helps with all of that at basketball for men's basketball.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I don't know if it was Jose, but I have a meeting with him, which is good. But yeah, I'll definitely email you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. I'm not going to sit here and pull teeth for people. But I can tell you, like, doing this for your organizations at the beginning of each semester can help to make sure that your executive board is on the same page. But it's also helpful in
whatever.
It's also helpful in
I
making
don't know. I'll
sure
have to see.
it's also helpful to make sure that your organization your organization is on the same page, that your organization has something they want to get done this semester other than what you guys do every single year. And it's nice to be able to show that kind of growth and see that you have attained these goals that you're setting for your organization at the end of the semester. So if you please make sure that you try to find a way to upload this onto 1850 or for your organization to be able to see it, so that way you can continue to look at it as you go through the semester. All right. Here's the contact information for people in charge of organization who help oversee the organizations. if you have questions, feel free to email us. Please take a picture of this slide if you really want to. But all of our emails are there. And then I think the next screen is. Yep. So any questions about anything tonight? If not, you I know 1850 is still running slow, so I'm not even going to go into the next page here where it shows a QR code for the event because I'm worried it's not going to track it. Email me your who you're here representing for the meeting, and we should be good to go. Again, here's that page. I'm mmiller13. Email me what organization you're here representing, and we should be good. Thank you all for coming. And if you have questions, feel free to stay after. I'll be on for a little bit longer.